welcome to the Superbone channel. We've been interviewing trombonists from around the world, and next up is Chris Dean. Say hi, Chris.
Hi. Hi, Mike.
The leader of the spectacular Syd Lawrence Orchestra, Chris is a much in-demand session musician, having recorded with Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand, and Shirley Bassey, to name just a few. Film credits include Superman, Out of Africa, Basic Instinct, Never Say Never Again, The Living Daylights, and Batman. And he's also played with the great Ted Heath Big Band under the direction of Don Lusher. So, Chris, you've been around the block. There's been a lot of great highlights in your career. But at the moment, obviously with the coronavirus and the lockdown, how has that impacted your career?
Well, basically, it's had a complete impact on it, as it has for most musicians. With the theatres shutting down, the Syd Lawrence Orchestra itself does mainly music in theatres.
Yeah.
Don't do a lot of dances or sort of holiday camps and things like that. So mainly it's work in theatres. And of course, they're all shut down. So yes, the band came to a grinding halt on the 15th of March, and hasn't done anything since. I had to shift all the dates into next year.
Yeah.
We had about 50 dates this year.
Wow.
And a couple of cruises with Saga, but the cruises are gone as well. So basically, that side of it's gone, and of course all the session work dried up as well because of social distancing in studios. It's very, very difficult. In fact, I did my first one for 5 months yesterday.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
and that was nice. It was nice to get together with the guys and see them again. It was just four trombones. We're having to layer everything up because you just can't get a band in a studio.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least it's something and starting to get going again, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully the theatre's open soon and you can get that great orchestra back on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been talking about our favourite trombonists. Do you have a favourite trombonist you'd like to tell us about, maybe a recording that has impacted your life?
Well, there are so many of them. It's very difficult to, you feel guilty if you leave one out.
Absolutely.
But the person who had the most effect on me as a trombone player when I first started playing this style of trombone as opposed to studying as a classical trombone player was Frank Rossellino.
Yeah.
He just blew me away. But also Dick Nash, the most wonderful, sweet trombone player, incredible, the daddy of them all, really. And Irby, you can't leave out Irby, can you?
No, of course not. Three pretty prominent names when I've been asking this question. Any recordings stand out to you of theirs?
Yeah, the first one I ever heard, and sometimes when you hear something for the first time and it knocks you out, you think it's two trombone players playing. It was an album called The East versus the West, Trombones Incorporated. And on that, the very first track is Lasser's Trombones, 10 trombones, and it featured Frank Rossellino with that amazing solo. But also, on that album, I mean, this is a 2-for-1 really, on that album was a tune called Impossible.
Okay.
And that featured the most beautiful trombone playing from Dick Nash.
Yeah.
So once I'd heard that, I bought this album. I can remember it was back in 1972.
Yeah.
I was in the Household Cavalry Band, and up until that time, I just started doing little sort of gigs. I was depping in places in like Covent Garden in stage bands. I realized that wasn't for me because I wasn't mentally good enough to be a classical trombone player. So I was enjoying doing the other side of things.
Yeah.
The jazz and that style of trombone playing came naturally to me.
Yeah.
And so at that time, being in the Household Cavalry, there's this album that my friend had bought for two and sixpence, which was a moldy old album of East versus the West. So I said to him, I need to buy that off you because that's so many trombone lessons in one.
Right.
And so eventually I negotiated with this guy who was a really good friend of mine to buy it for 12 quid, which was 4 weeks' wages at that time in the army. It didn't matter to me because I learned so much from that album.
Yeah.
You don't need to be told things.
Yeah.
Really, it's good to have a good trombone professor who I had. I had the most amazing trombone professor.
Yeah.
But you can learn a lot more by sitting, listening, analysing, and because it excites you so much, you start wanting to play in that style.
Of course. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, the sound of Rosalino really must have just kind of hit you. And, you know, when you get that inspiration, it's really hard to not want to do exactly what they're doing.
I couldn't believe that the trombone did that.
Yeah.
And there are some fabulous players around today. Brilliant. The trombone is coming on and coming on and coming on, but still Frank Rosalino.
Yeah.
It's the excitement that's in his playing.
Yeah.
And just the creation. And funny enough, even when I hear things that I've heard so many times before, if I'm not expecting it, as soon as he starts playing, I just start laughing. But laughing with happiness and awe, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I guess that's the sense of wonder that you get from just listening to an absolute master.
Yes, yeah.
I don't even know. I mean, when you just start out, it seems so far away to reach those heights.
Yes.
But obviously we're still striving and still learning. So,
well, if you stop learning, that's the time to put the instrument away.
Of course, exactly.
Because no matter who you are, you're always learning. Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, let's perfect segue into your own career and your own influences. You take us back and let us know who was the person who influenced you the most as a teacher, as a mentor.
Okay. Firstly, I must correct you about your little opening statement. I played with Frank Sinatra, but I never recorded with him.
Oh, okay. I got that off a bio. So.
Yeah. And I remember trying to correct that at the time, saying, "Look, I didn't do that. I played with Frank Sinatra."
Close enough.
But I mean, but you don't like to put out things that aren't true because then people say, well, how much of the rest of it's true? I've been very, very lucky, and I had a fantastic trombone teacher who older trombone players in the classical world will know about, but the younger ones won't have. His name was Bill Teskey.
Okay.
And he was the principal trombone in the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and also the trombone professor at Kneller Hall.
Okay.
So when I started learning trombone, my mother was in the BBC as a singer, and she got me lessons with Bill Teskey. I then went to Purbright as an army trombone player at the age of 15, went to Kneller Hall, and Bill was my professor again.
Yep.
And he was absolutely fantastic. He gave me the best foundation you could possibly ever have. And he was my mentor at the time. And I thank him a lot for putting me in the right position and the right frame of mind to carry on in the music business.
Sure. For me, I also classically trained initially. That basis of having that technique, really, when you move into the jazz and popular idiom, it's really, really solid chops. Definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you have to build on a foundation. When I left Kneller Hall, I went into the Lifeguards Band. Which is a mounted band, which also gave me a solid foundation. If you can play a trombone on a horse, you can play it anywhere. And so I was, whilst I was in the Household Cabaret, which I enjoyed very much, I was stationed at Knightsbridge or Windsor. So apart from doing tours, I was never out of town. So it meant that I could do gigs with various bands at the time, like in those days, Joe Lost, Bob Miller, and then go into the West End and dep on shows. So I used to dep on Chorus Line, West Side Story, and things like that, and also do a few little deps in the BBC Radio Orchestra, as it was then. It wasn't the BBC Big Band; it was the BBC Radio Orchestra. And that was lovely. So, and then when I left the army, I went into the Palladium on lead trombone, and then got a call from Syd Lawrence. Went in Syd Lawrence's band. Wanted to do it for about 6 months, but ended up doing it for about 4 years because I enjoyed it so much. But that really gave me a leapfrog really into the session business, because at that time the orchestra was never off the television, and all the leads were being featured. So the fixers in London were sort of starting to phone up and say, look, come and do this, come and do that.
Yeah.
And so I started getting calls from Sid Sachs, David Katz, who fixed for people like Henry Mancini and Nelson Riddle and Billy May and all those kinds of people. So I started getting into a situation where I was doing really, really good work. And, over the years, I've had a great time working with some of the best players and some of the best writers and orchestras in the world. That I went into the session business then, as opposed to the orchestral side of things. I was starting to do pretty well in the orchestral side, not making a great name for myself because I was young, but there was so much about my playing that I didn't get so much out. I love listening to orchestral music, and I can sit there and listen to it and hear these fabulous players. But I was more of a guy who wanted to be involved and be a bit of a soloist, and also didn't have really the brain for these rotten time signatures.
Instead you end up playing jazz and things in 7/8 and
approximately.
Well, it's interesting. I find the classical and the pop jazz scene, it seems that sometimes there's a barrier between them, but there's so many people out there who've broken down that barrier. Obviously you started and were being successful in the classical move to jazz and pop. Mike Hext, I did our first interview with, and he loves jazz, works at the Opera House, very formidable jazz player as well as being a classical player. It really inspires me a lot to see those barriers being broken down.
Yeah, they started being broken down, I suppose, around about in the 1970s and 80s. Colin Sheen was one of the first ones. You know Colin? Colin Sheen's fantastic trombone player. And he was very, very at home playing classical stuff and sitting in a big band. You've got nowadays Andy Wood, who's just one of the greatest trombone players I've ever sat next to. He can play anything. He'll play tenor trombone classically. He'll play bass trombone classically. He'll play bass trombone jazz-wise and wonderful tenor trombone. Then he'll pick up a bloody tuba. I mean, the guy is just amazing. Then you've got this Ian Moffat. Ian? Ian's great. He's great on both sides. He's an excellent lead trombone player. So there are plenty of Richard Edwards. I mean, I can go and name quite a few of these. But there still is sometimes a bit of a barrier there. But I think now people who are any good are going to respect other players no matter what they do. And so if you get any negative from our side or their side, it's generally because they've got some kind of axe to grind. If they're really good players, you embrace everybody.
Fantastic. Well, that's really good to hear about your influences, and I'm sure you could go on for many more hours and tell us all about your...
Oh, does it seem like hours to you?
No. I'm sure there's way more that we could talk about, but we will move on. It's that time of the interview where we'd like to have a little bit of a chuckle. Everyone's got a really funny story from a gig or a rehearsal. Have you been able to think of one?
I have, and it involves my all-time hero, Frank Rossellino. And I was still in the army at the time. I was depping on a show in town called Dad's Army. And I'd been to see Rossellino the night before at Ronnie Scott's, and basically been introduced to him by my friend at the time, who was a guy called Roy Huckeridge, who was a trombone player. And he introduced me to him, and that was really nice. But the next day I went into Dep on Dad's Army, and Roy said to me, we got someone in tonight who wants to come and sit next to you to see the show. And I turned around and it was Frank Rossellino. So I said, well, as long as is he any good, just having a joke, and we all had a laugh. And we went down into the pit, and he sat right next to me all through the show. So if that wasn't as nervous enough, to have Rossellino sitting next to you, it came to a place in the show where there were pauses. It went, dun, the price of potatoes goes up 1 penny. Dun, Chamberlain says there's going to be no war. Dun, these chords, you see. So I played the first chord, and in my ear it went, dun, it went, in my ear like this, just because that's what he did. And we laughed all the way through the night. And it was something, as you can imagine, I was 24 at the time.
Yeah.
That stayed with me forever and ever. It's an experience that probably no one else can have. And it's an experience that I had a great. I went out and hung out with him for the rest of the night.
Fantastic.
I loved him, and I just loved his playing.
Yeah.
So that is always one that I will remember.
Yeah, what a character! I'm sure you're nervous enough without him having to do that to you.
Yeah. Some of his beautiful cadenzas,
It's a pity you didn't have a trombone with him at the time.
Oh yeah, it was, yes. I don't think that would have gone down too well in Dad's army, though.
No, probably not. It's all like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you for that, Chris. Lastly, we just want to make sure that we're shining a spotlight on what you're up to and what's coming up. So have you got anything you'd like everyone out there to know about?
Well, obviously, I'm going to be doing quite a lot, hopefully, with the band in 2021. It might be, at the moment, we're going from January 21. I've moved everything in there, but that might have to move depending on whether there's another lockdown, another wave, or whatever. Everything's sort of up in the air. But I have been doing some trombone projects at home.
Okay.
And they're worth having a listen to. Lots of people have. They're quite nice. It's two of us, a guy called Nick West, who's an excellent trombone player, and we sort of racking up the voices, 10 trombone voices, on Singers Unlimited arrangements that were done by a brilliant arranger called Gene Perling. They're fabulous arrangements, and they go well for trombone. They're a bit rangy. But I've done Fool on the Hill, and I've done April in Paris, and I'm just doing a thing called Here, There, and Everywhere. So they're coming out. We've done it to video, and hopefully I'll be doing some live streaming with the band.
Fantastic.
There's obviously some always nice session things that you hope are going to come along. And I'm also endorsing I've been asked to endorse the XO trombone, which is the John Fetchock model. So I've been using that recently. So that's nice. They're great trombones, in fact. I'm not going to endorse them now because it's not the right thing to do, but they are seriously well-made trombones.
Well, actually, interesting. What's the bore size on it?
It's exactly the same as a 2.5B, which was what I play. I play a King 2B. 2B plus they call it, and it's exactly the same, and it feels like one of those, only a lot newer. My slide works when it wants to. It's difficult to do slide vibrato because it only moves very, very slightly. It's been well and truly bashed, as any one of my mates will tell you. It's taken a lot of punishment. No, but these are great trombones. But anyway, I'm just keeping positive because there'll always be something around the corner.
Oh, absolutely.
I might be doing something mentoring in Chichester University, which is nice because I live down here in Portsmouth. If you see the boats down there, So but I'm just going to stay positive about it all, and I'm treating this as a sabbatical because I've never had a year off, so I may as well have a year off.
Absolutely.
There's no choice about it. So just.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that. We will find out about those videos that you've been doing. We'll pop some links in the description so people can check them out. I definitely will be. I'm really interested in everyone's attempt to layer up trombones because I've been doing a bit of it myself, and it's a lot of fun. It's also quite challenging. So it's a good thing to do, really. Just take something that's already great and put trombones on it. Can only get better.
Great, Mike. Thanks very much.
So we'll do that. And for all you back home, thanks so much for watching our interview with Christine. There is so much more coming up on the channel. We have a lot more collaboration videos with other trombone artists, some that you've seen before, some that you are completely new. So please stay tuned for those. And thanks for watching this interview with Chris. And it's time to say goodbye, Chris.
Bye-bye.